Now it's time for Movie Friends with your hosts Michelle and Seth. We're talking film without pretension. We're finding cats that are unexpected. We'll watch a movie, film, or schmovie. And we want you to join our journey. So subscribe and share this podcast, or this might just be the last of the Movie Friends. We're movie friends. We want to be your movie friends.
Welcome to Movie Friends. I'm here with my friend Michelle Rubenstein, who has never misfiled anything. Not once, not one time.
And hey, I'm here with my friend Seth Vargas, who knows his alphabet.
That's right. Michelle, what's going on?
How are you, Seth? Seth has a new beanie, and it's kind of throwing me off. You always wear a green beanie, and today you're wearing a blue beanie.
Yes, the greenie.
The greenie?
The greenie
And
I thought was missing.
Yeah.
Yep. I went out to do some filming at a show in Philadelphia this weekend.
Uh-huh.
Took my beanie off and thought it was missing. Turns out it was in one of my bags, but
Whew.
Yeah, big relief.
Yeah.
What's going on with you? That's what's going on with me and my beanies.
Yeah, it's March, so that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I love March. It's my birthday month.
Mm-hmm.
And Thank You Very Much is releasing in theaters, which is the
Yes.
Andy Kaufman documentary. And
The
so
Andy
happy
Kaufman.
birthday to me. March 28th, y'all. It's coming out in some theaters and it'll be available in digital release. This is sponsored, not sponsored.
Right. Yeah, we have nothing
Sponsored
to do.
in my heart.
We have
Sponsored in my
nothing
heart.
to do with this. Yeah. I've noticed how wonderful it is that the sun isn't setting at 4:30.
Oh, yes. I know. It really makes a difference.
It's warming up and
Yeah.
you feel like life is possible
There is hope.
when the weather changes.
There is hope. I know.
Mhm. Hey, did we get any new patrons this week?
We sure did. We
my
sure
gosh.
did. Billy,
Yeah.
welcome to the Patreon family. We're so excited to have you.
Doot, doot, doot. That's the welcome wagon, too.
I like that, like a welcome horn.
Yeah. Doot, doot, doot.
But hey, we're excited.
Yes, very excited. Sometimes I'll listen to an episode of a different podcast, like today I did, and they're like, we need to welcome 9 new patrons. And I was like, excuse me?
Excuse me?
Yeah. You know what? We don't want that, okay? We're glad one at a time. We can get to know you. Hey, it's great. So yes, thank you very much, Billy. Billy joined this week and got access to all of our additional episodes, our patron-only Discord, and a bunch of other stuff that we do.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Whenever that notification comes in, talk about life is worth living. Oh my God.
I know, that little ding of hope, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It comes in and it's just as good as the sun, setting an hour later than it used to.
It's our version of the sun. It's the movie friend's sun.
That's right. Hey, you know what else has given us a little bit of hope? We got a live show coming up. This is a live recording in Massachusetts, May 25th, Sunday, May 25th. More details coming, but that's all the details you need, quite frankly. I mean,
what else do you need?
Exactly.
Just show up to the state of Massachusetts that day.
Movie kind of is determined, but we'll definitely let you know what movie it is ahead of time.
Yeah. Or maybe we won't. It'll be a surprise.
Wow, can you imagine that?
You're just come for the live event.
Surprise movie?
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to be playing the movie, but you could watch us talk about it.
It could be a live reenactment of a movie. A table read?
A table read.
Hey, if you show up, we might give you a script and say, congratulations, you're playing this part.
Fun idea, actually.
That is a fun idea, right?
I like that, Seth.
Yeah. Oh, something may have just happened here.
Uh-oh.
Hey, something else happened. We got an email.
Email.
Subject line is Ratatouille. Message says, I would absolutely eat a meal prepared by a rat or any animal. I don't like rats. As a former exterminator, my rat stories are not positive. I think it should be mandatory for everyone to work back and front of house in a restaurant for a year. And I really am not a fan of Patton. Wow.
Whoa.
What did Patton Oswalt ever do to this guy?
Yeah, really.
P.S. They should definitely have used a French actress. Remember, that was one of my hang-ups in this one.
I know, about Colette.
P.S.S. If all jobs were equal pay, I would work in a kitchen over most jobs. I think I agree with that. P.S.S.S. Your French accent can't be worse than Garofalo's. And P.S.S.S.S. Wall-E is not only the best Pixar, I would argue it's the greatest animated film. Minimum top 5.
There's so many things in this email
There's a
that
lot
I feel
going on
like I
here.
need to address point by point, but
Mhm.
we don't have the time nor space for that. So
Pick one.
that being the best animated film is a bold claim.
Statement. Yeah, it's a bold claim. Wall-E, the best animated film. It is great.
Yeah. But you know what? What I think is the best, this person definitely doesn't think is the best.
That's
So-
right. Well, what would you say is the best animated
Well, I
film?
don't know. Now you put me on the spot. Now
I don't know
I'm
either.
sweating.
I don't know either.
The best animated film of all time?
That's so, my mind immediately was going to like stop motion stuff.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I almost feel like each one of the animation disciplines would need to be judged on their own.
yeah, I agree. I'm
Yeah.
also thinking of like Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right. How can you compare Dumbo and Nightmare Before Christmas?
Right.
To
Right. It's a
even
different
Wall-E?
art form. It's a different
Yeah.
art form too.
Well, anyway, that email's from Ben. Thank you, Ben.
Ben. Wow, wow, wow.
Hey, if you want to be like Ben, send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. And that episode was in February, which was Fooduary. We have moved into March, which is a patron voted theme, and it is Cage March. So kind of like Cage Match.
Yeah.
I have been hitting the books
Uh-huh.
like hard. When this was nominated, by the way, 2 different people nominated it, which is the first time that's ever happened. And I just knew, I was like, this is going to win. Like nothing else has a chance, which is a shame because there were some good suggestions. Westerns was on the chopping block again.
I mean, it's going to make its way in sooner than later. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I just knew. And so as soon as those 2 submissions came in, I started doing as much Cage research as I could. I'm doing a separate thing just in my own personal life that I'm calling Engage Cage, where I'm trying to watch 25 new to me Nick Cage movies this month.
Is this in addition to what we're covering on the show?
This is in addition to what we're covering on the show.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. What about you? Like, how do you feel about this?
Oh, I'm really
patron-voted
excited for this theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to explore Nicolas Cage's filmography.
Mm-hmm. You're excited to explore Nicolas's Cage?
Yes, Nicolas's Cage.
So before we get into our discussion on today's film, we're going to guess what the other person is going to rate the movie. And all week, I've been like, I'm pretty sure I know what Michelle is going to say.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, look at you, you little confident boy.
Sometimes I'm really not confident. It feels like a stab, but I'm like, no, I think I've got this one.
If you get this, I mean, I say this all the time. I will be very surprised.
Yeah.
For you, I feel like this could go a lot of different ways.
Sure.
All right.
So yeah, I'm locked in, and I've been locked in for like a week.
I'm also locked in.
So today we're talking about Vampire's Kiss from 1989, directed by Robert Bierman, written by Joseph Minion, cinematography by Stefan Chapsky, composed by Colin Towns, edited by Angus Newton, costume design by Irene Albright. Starring Nicolas Cage, Maria Conchita Alonso, Elizabeth Ashley, Jennifer Beals, and Casey Lemons. Michelle, would you like to take a bite out of our summary?
Sure. Peter Liu is a publishing executive in New York City. His life is simple. He goes to work, talks with his therapist, goes to the clubs, and brings women home. After an unexpected encounter with a bat in his apartment, Peter's grip on himself and reality begins to loosen. Is it his loneliness that is to blame? Is it the bat? Is it his own mental state, or is he truly transforming after experiencing the vampire's kiss?
So I have seen this film before.
Yeah.
You have not. This is your first time. And leading into Cage March, we talked about how you've seen 4 or 5 Cage films before, right? And so we ended February with Pig, which was a good segue. And that's later Cage. It's also close to his most reserved role, you know? So I wanted to pivot to this one. So, how did you find the film? How did you find Cage in the film? And I know we'll talk about it a little bit more, but what was your like impression of what's happening in this movie? Is it the bat? Is it a vampire? Is he crazy? I know
Yeah,
that's like
yeah.
3 things all at once, but
Yeah,
take it
yeah,
away.
yeah, yeah. Wow. What a ride this is.
Mm.
It I don't even know where to start, honestly. Because even like you asking me that is you can't really answer that question. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I don't even know how to jump off from that ledge that you provided me.
I said before we started, I feel like there's about 10 places we could start with this movie.
I'll say this.
Yes.
After watching and researching and watching clips over again and reading about it, I feel like this is a great movie for discussion. And you could break it down into truths and like facts and figures, like what's actually happening, what's actually a truth, what's actually not true.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of like what's real, what's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so Peter is a real person.
Yes. We
Okay.
can agree on that.
We can agree on that. Is he going to therapy? I think he is. I think he is. Is that therapist real? Yes.
See, I'm not even that far into it.
And I came to this conclusion today.
Okay.
This is a movie that just sticks with you. Is he turning into a vampire? No.
No, I agree with that.
No. Right. So, yeah.
Is Rachel a real person?
Is Rachel a real person? Yes, but
yes, I agree.
Is she a person that he hooked up with?
I think that Rachel, not to jump all the way to the end, but I think that Rachel is someone that he knew in high school.
What?
Because after he encounters her in the club, and she's like, Peter, right? He talks about high school.
High school.
He says she's just a high school. I won't repeat everything that he says. And I think that Rachel is a girl that he was in love with, who he has never gotten over, and who she clearly doesn't even think of him anymore.
Right. That makes perfect sense.
And so this person, this vampire that comes to him, is this fantasy of someone that he once knew. And I think that he doesn't even put those two things together.
Yeah. The other thing, I think this discussion's going to be all over the place.
Yeah. Our apologies.
Yeah. The bat of it all.
Mm-hmm. The bat of it all.
The bat of it all. My questions.
Yes.
Did the bat actually exist?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If the bat existed, is it just to tie in the vampire theme? And it's just a standalone incident that happened, and it has nothing really to do with where we end up.
Yeah.
It also can support the theory that he has rabies.
All of these things, I think, lead me to the conclusion that despite how you feel about the performance of the film, this is a well-written film. This is a well-made film. I mean, look, Chapsky. We've covered him twice before on this show. Edward Scissorhands and The Thin Blue Line.
Yeah.
This is not some kind of Joker cinematographer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this movie has such a flashing light bulb of a feature in Nick Cage's performance that's so polarizing that if you fall on the side of not liking or getting what he's doing, it makes everything else seem bad.
Oh, for sure.
Like you think like,
Yeah.
this isn't a well-written movie. This isn't a well-directed movie. This isn't but I think that it is, because look at all the questions that we have and look at all the evidence for like any of the three theories. So I guess we'd say rabies theory, crazy theory, vampire theory.
Yeah.
And while I do have a clear interpretation of the events of the film, I can see how you could have evidence for all three of those. So I
Yeah.
think that this is a layered script.
Yeah, I think this is a great movie for like film clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be watched in film classes.
Yeah.
It's like really fun to discuss this movie, even though I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing a poor job of it right now. As you've
Well,
asked me many a questions, and I'm like, "Ugh, how do I answer that?"
Well, I want to ask you before we go too far into it.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us recently, or if this is your first episode, Movie Friends started, and Michelle was not very steeped in movies, would you say?
I didn't reach for them.
Yeah, like in the tea bag of your life, you were steeped in other things, right?
Yeah, well said.
And yet, over the years, Michelle will slowly reveal bits of information that is like really weird movie connected stuff that she's just like, oh yeah, you know. So we pick Vampire's Kiss, and then I start to get this flood of text messages from Michelle. So do you want to pick up what you discovered?
Yeah. So when Seth announced we were doing Vampire's Kiss, a little memory sparked in the back of my brain in my filing cabinet. I was like, wait a minute. I think I recognize this title.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to do website work for the producer of this film.
Yes.
I had, back in the day, I had a little virtual assistant business where I would help people with their Squarespace sites.
Yeah.
And Barbara Zitwer was one of my clients. And so I would update her website with news. She's a fabulous book agent, by the way. She has an agency. She represents authors from all over the world. And she was the producer for this movie. And I worked with her for 4 years.
That's insane.
And so I remember her sending me articles, like, new articles about Vampire's Kiss, and I would have to update her blog with these news articles.
Mm-hmm.
This like all came back to me when you announced that we were going to do Vampire's Kiss, and I was like, why does this sound so familiar? And so I go through my old emails and I type in Vampire's Kiss, and there's an email from Barbara that says, please post this article. It's a great article from Ringer. And I was in it, and she says how this is my one and only film. And I was like, oh my God, in the email, past Michelle writes, oh my God, I had no idea that you were a part of Vampire's Kiss. Anyway, I got a good chuckle at myself for that. And in classic Michelle, I just never went forward and researched Vampire's Kiss or like what this movie could be or the fact that it was Nicolas Cage. None of it until now.
Amazing.
LOL.
So now you find all that out before you go in to watch it.
Yeah.
So now it's like you're watching it with a whole new excitement.
Oh my gosh. I mean, when the opening credits were going on and I see Barbara's name, I took a picture of it. I was like, Anthony, look, it's Barbara's name. So cool. And then so I emailed her to tell her that I watched this movie, and I asked for some behind the scenes trivia, which I will share, and thankful for her for sending. But yeah, but it's so like if it's so weird like that, like what the heck, right? Isn't this so weird? It's weird to me. It's very weird
it's weird to me too. So I didn't have something that exciting connecting me to Vampire's Kiss, but you sent me that and I started looking into the producers and writers and directors of this and found out that there's a movie that I loved in childhood. Loved. It was so interesting and unique. It was like if David Lynch made a kids movie. Years go by, and one of my brothers and I are the only people on earth who can remember this movie. And every year or so, we would kind of like bring it up again and try to remember what we could about it. We would do our own internet research to try and find it. And then a few years ago, I found this movie. And this movie is called Motorama. It's from 1991. And it's written by Joseph Minion, who wrote this movie. It's directed by Barry Shills.
He was also a producer on this.
And I've been listening to interviews with Barbara Zitwer and reading, and they kind of give this sense that a few of them had worked with this director, Larry Cohen, who has done The Stuff, Q, The Winged Serpent, God Told Me To, Return to Salem's Lot, like a lot of lower budget horror stuff, but like good stuff, really good. Larry Cohen's movie, The Stuff, is a lot of fun. And so I started to see Vampire's Kiss totally different when realizing, like, oh my gosh, Minion wrote After Hours, the Scorsese film. Then he writes Vampire's Kiss. Then he writes Motorama. And the thing that all three of those movies have in common is that they're like really genre defying, not defining. It's hard to classify. Like, I think After Hours is probably the easiest to say, like, hey, this is a comedy, but it's really like dark comedy, and some parts of it are more dramatic. It's like a little absurd, but then like through the Scorsese lens. Vampire's Kiss, which, you know, obviously we're talking about, is like so hard to define. And then Motorama is even harder to define. Like I said, it's like a violent R-rated kids movie where the main kid at one point has like his eye gouged out and then wears a patch for the rest of the movie.
I want to watch this.
I love Motorama so much. It's one of the movies that I always recommend whenever people are like, hey, give me a movie to suggest. I always say Magic Spot, Motorama, Clifford is another one. But like, yeah, Motorama, Barry Shills, love that movie. Love it. So I started to see Vampire's Kiss totally differently. Because I was like, oh, wait, I feel like I understand now because of those other movies. Like, I feel like I understand what they were going for.
Yeah.
So you and I have gone on a Vampire's Kiss connection, awakening journey these last few days. So you said that Barbara Zitwer shared something with you, or she shared?
Yes, I emailed her, which was like so nice to reach out to her to just say hi, because I haven't spoken to her in a long time, and I love her. And so I was like, yo, we're going to cover this on my podcast. If you have any fun stories to share, and if not, like totally cool, but just wanted to say hi to. And so she's like, yeah, definitely I have stories to share. So I'm going to share some behind the scenes stories with you.
Absolutely. Love it so much.
So she says, when we were shooting a scene with Nicholas and Jennifer Beals as the vampire, he wanted to feel sexually aroused and he didn't. So he asked the makeup woman to pour hot yogurt over his toes. So she did that while they were filming, and the scene came out perfect. Can you imagine?
No,
hot
I cannot.
Yogurt.
Wow.
I wonder what kind of sensation this provides.
Well, I mean, you know, I don't know the cost of dairy goods at the moment, but it seems like something that could be tried.
Like, I'm kind of curious, and not where I'm like laying in bed, you know, and Aunt and I are like, let's do it. I kind of just want to sit on my couch and be like, yo, Aunt, pour some yogurt on my toes. I just want to see what this feels like.
Yeah. Hey, can you do me a favor really quick?
Can you heat up yogurt?
Oh, man, you would need... I feel like you would need to have your feet in like a kiddie pool.
Correct.
Like, what kind of
or
a cleanup
pot.
is... Yikes, a Roni.
Yeah. She also says Nicholas couldn't understand why we used a mechanical bat for the scenes at the beginning of the film, and he thought we should use a real bat. I explained endlessly to him and almost had a bat expert come to the set to talk to him. The bat was made in England by a famous animal mechanical expert for films who was tragically killed at his sister's wedding the weekend before he was to fly to New York with the bat.
Oh,
I know.
no.
So we were devastated by this. But his assistant came with the bat, which was a bit broken. So it was very difficult to shoot the scenes. Nicholas was furious because it took almost a week to shoot. We should shoot the scene with the bat and Nick in the morning and then go on to the rest of the schedule in the afternoon. It drove him crazy. So he sent his personal assistant to see if he could bring a bat underground from Mexico to New York for the scenes. We explained they can have rabies. They fly away from the lights. It's impossible. But he went so far as to send his assistant to Central Park with a cooler and a broom to try and catch some bats and bring them back.
Insane.
Now, I have been an assistant for many people, and I have done some things. But I think this might be my breaking point if I was sent to go capture a bat in Central Park with a cooler and a broom.
Well, you know what you do?
What do you do?
You wander around Central Park for a few hours and then you come back and you're like, sorry, couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like,
but the idea of it.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, there's no way to check if you were actually doing it.
Absolutely.
You tell a good story, like, I almost had one and then it bit me and then,
Yeah.
Somebody rubbed my cooler of bats. Well, hey, thank you very much.
No, I have one more.
Oh, okay, sorry.
One more. Then in the script, when he eats the cockroach, originally it was supposed to be that the character sucked on a raw egg, but Nicholas wanted to eat a cockroach. I went crazy. How disgusting. But the director called me and said, if Nick wants to eat a huge bug, I think he should. So I called the doctor on call to be on the set and asked if he would get sick. The doctor said no, but have some whiskey that he can gulp after he eats. And they did one take, and then the director did a second take for good measure. But because Nick was a bit difficult, it was hysterical.
You know how there's a pickleback?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
If it's safe to do, someone should invent.
It's like a water bug back.
Yeah, the bug back, where you eat a bug and then take a shot.
Would you do it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I would eat a bug. I mean, if I'm there and I'm on set, it calls for it. I'm eating that bug all day, of course.
Anyway, thank you,
wouldn't
Barbara.
do it?
No, I wouldn't do it, Seth. I don't.
If you're in Vampire's Kiss?
No.
Okay.
I'm not bending how I operate as a human.
You're not breaking your vegetarian edge for Vampire's Kiss?
My vegetarian edge.
Well, Robert Bierman, give me a call if you ever need somebody for Vampire's Kiss too.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Seth's your guy. But yeah, thank you, Barbara, for sending all those fun stories. And I'm just so tickled by this whole thing.
Yeah.
I really am.
Not only thank you for sending those, but thank you for producing this unique and interesting, one-of-a-kind film. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Last week when we were talking about Pig, you and I mentioned how on this show, we like to talk about the content of a film and not just be one of the shows that rattles off all the facts on Wikipedia that anybody can have access to. I want to know what you... I'm sitting around itching to be like, what does Michelle think about this, right? I'm sure you don't care what I think about most of them.
I do care.
But that's what our show is. And then the next episode is Vampire's Kiss, which is, as you already said, it's such an interesting movie, but then all the behind the scenes stuff is really interesting. It's just as interesting.
Not only that, but to have a personal connection to the behind the scenes, right? I think that's where the little asterisk appears. And I texted Seth. I was like, we literally said last week how we don't really go behind the scenes digging and presenting. I was like, but I think there's an exception when you have a personal history with someone.
Yeah.
That worked on film or project.
So yeah, we might do a little bit of both for this one. I'm not sure. But talking about the yogurt on the toes and the bug... Nicolas Cage in this film, Peter Lowe?
Yeah. Lowe. Yeah. You have to say it like he would say it.
Well, I can't. I have been trying to do this accent, and it's tough.
It's really tough. There's only like who,
Mm-hmm.
who,
Mm-hmm.
whom, Lou. Yeah.
How did you feel about him in this performance?
I thought he was great. You know, this is again, it's like a strange movie tonally because what he's doing is so over the top in a good way, in my opinion, in a good way. And it's comedic. But
Mm-hmm.
then, and that's his perspective. But what Alva's going through is so dark and scary and sad.
Yes.
So when you tie in that, like you can't be like, oh, this movie's so funny because it's
Mm-hmm.
not.
Nope.
It's there's sections where Nicholas's performance is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you
Yeah.
go and like the dark can be funny because
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
going insane is it's like the same what is that phrase? Like the same two sides of the same coin? There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. I went into this when I watched it for the first time, thinking that it was just a comedy. And from its reputation, I was thinking that it was like not a well-made comedy or something. I was expecting something. And I was so struck by how dark it was. And when we get to Peter wandering the streets and then talking to a wall, and then we see him enter his mind and he's talking to the therapist, that hit me so hard. Like my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe. I was like, what is this movie? And watching it again for this show, I almost didn't find any of it funny. I
Yeah.
know that, jumping on the desk and pointing at her and the ABC scene, and I see how those things are funny because it's very silly. And I don't fault people for laughing at this movie, not at all. But the more I think about it, just the less funny this movie becomes. Yeah, and like as far as it being well written, there's some things I didn't really notice my first time around because I think Cage is so much. It's like all you can see,
Yeah.
and sometimes some of the stuff can feel really random. The mimes, what's going on with them,
I love that.
the cab driver and his wife just appearing in his office later on in the movie. It's like, whoa. I was like, it's like Mulholland Drive, right? When the old people show up again and they're very little, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen some people kind of slam this movie for being like misogynistic. And I don't think that it is. I don't think the movie finds funny what Peter finds funny. And I don't think the movie finds okay what Peter finds okay.
No.
This movie is mostly starring women, and it's never really highlighted or like brought out. There's only one scene in the movie where Peter is mostly interacting with men, and it's that boardroom scene where they're all laughing and joking and making fun of her, Alva, for reporting Peter. And that is dark. That scene is dark,
Yeah.
dark, dark. And I don't think that Minion or Bierman are putting that scene in to laugh at Alva. I think that they're putting that scene in to show the audience, like, look at how horrible and horrifying this is. And yeah, Peter is like really wild and over the top, and he's kind of in his own world. But look at the real world ramifications of what working with someone who's like this mentally damaged and selfish and crazy is,
Yeah. And someone who's going through a mental breakdown.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cage's performance, it's funny in the way where you're like, this, I can't believe what's happening. I'm laughing.
Yeah.
It's not like this is funny because he's doing a bit or a joke.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a different kind of, you laugh for a different reason. At least I
Yeah.
was. I was like, what am I watching? This is insane.
It really is.
It's insane. Yeah.
And I think that if this movie grips you enough to rewatch it, it's a totally different movie the second time around, because the first time around, you don't really know what's happening. Is he turning into a vampire? And so if if the vampire part of this exists, it excuses everything that happens to him and everything that he does, aside from the assault of Alva, obviously. If you're turning into a vampire, of course you're going to be like losing your mind, right? But once you realize that that's not what's happening, the second time around, you're like, oh, this isn't funny. This is intense. This is a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on the therapist being real.
The reason I think she's real, here's why I think she's real, okay?
Is it because of the hunky guy?
Yes! Why would we give her that? You know, I think he is going to her in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rest, especially when he makes the call and he's like, I need sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going through her book. I think that's real. But then from that point on, it's all in his mind.
Can I give you a counterpoint to the
Of course
hunky
you
guy?
can. Yes.
Why would he have her home phone number?
How do you know that's not her work line? How do you know she doesn't have
Oh,
two?
no, she's at home. Hunky
how do you
guy's
know
got a
she
towel
doesn't-
around his neck.
No, right. But how do you know she doesn't have two phone lines in the home? One's for a work number.
I don't know. I don't know.
Why are we giving her the hunky guy?
He's giving her the hunky guy.
He's going so far to create a home life for the therapist he made up.
Because
he believes in love. That's all he wants.
Because he's so tortured by love and throughout the film. Again, I did not pick up on this the first time around. Every time he sees like people in love or some, the hot dog vendor couple who are like making out.
Yeah.
Or when he's in the diner and the woman behind him is like, I just got engaged. And then he just like explodes. I think that he's inventing all kinds of romantic relationships that he's seen in his head. And the reason that I think that she is not real is because that's where the film starts. And so if that's the big reveal, that's the big pull, pulling the carpet out from under us, because up to that point, there's evidence that none of this is really happening. But when we see him talking to a wall and then he transports into her office, that's like, I'm not firm that it's never been real. I think that it isn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still going to stand on my point.
Yeah. And I think,
yeah.
I think I can't prove that the first interaction with them isn't real.
Right.
But I mean, think about it. Like he's doing the ABC thing.
Yeah, but that
and she just says, well, your ABCs.
Well, I mean, a therapist is supposed to remain very calm and not judge or laugh.
Yeah.
I love that actress's voice, by the way. Like if I could have a voice, I would want hers.
Elizabeth Ashley.
Oh man.
As this doctor, I love everything. And not to criticize the movie, but I almost wish like we picked one of the storylines to kind of spend more time in. Yeah. And I wish that it was the therapist.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because when we open up, do you think this with Peter?
Yeah.
You think he's already in the mid, like? Yeah. He's already in the breakdown.
Can I tell you what I think the timeline is?
Yeah.
I think that he's already breaking down.
Okay.
And I think the bat triggers the vampire story. I think that the bat is real. I think that he goes out, he meets Jackie, he brings her home. The bat comes in, she leaves, and he's left alone with the bat. And then later on, he talks about this experience, and he says, I don't know if I dreamt it, I don't know if it's real, but I basically like became aroused when it was me and the bat. And I think the bat kind of, that random experience jolts him out of his day-to-day life and enters this vampire story into his mind.
Okay, so the bat, I like that because I was searching for what is the purpose of my bat here? I like the theory of this. Well, not the theory. This to me is now a truth of what I was saying. Like what is real, what is not. Triggers the start of the vampire persona.
Yeah. Because while I do also think that the theory of the rabies holds weight, I think that the movie would have shown him, reach into the curtain and pull it back and like, ow, if that was 100% the direction they were trying to go.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's more of like a I LOL'd when I was
Yeah.
like, does this guy just have rabies?
Yeah. And then, we show him, we see him get cut while shaving.
Right.
And that's the exact spot where he puts the Band-Aid. And then now he's pretending that he was, sucked there. And we see him make coffee for Rachel, and then she isn't there, and his hands are. This movie's really well written. I don't know what to say, man.
Yeah.
Also, Cage said, and I've heard a few other people say, that the only thing that he improvised was the bug scene. That everything else
Yes.
was in the script. The ABC thing, all of it.
Yeah, the alphabet scene.
Yeah.
I heard he practiced that with his cat Lewis in a hotel room.
Wow.
Poor Lewis. I just imagine Lewis being like jolted and as he gyrates.
Right, yeah. My first time seeing that ABC scene, I could not believe he was going to do the whole thing. And it felt so much longer.
Yeah.
And now rewatching it, I'm like, oh, of course it takes 15 seconds to say the ABCs. But
right.
I was like, he's really going to do it. Is this the first time I've ever seen someone recite the entire ABCs in a film?
An adult.
Right. Yeah, poor Lewis. But Cage did choreograph what he was doing.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Nicolas Cage this month. This is a movie where, if you watch it, you're like, oh, that's where that meme is from, or that's where that GIF is from, or that's where that image of his face. Can you do that face?
Make your eyes as big and bulgy as possible.
I can't. It's unreal how wide he opens his eyes. It's pretty. But it feels like there's something coming through him or pulling him down that he's trying to move through. It's intense. So this isn't the case of someone just showing up and being like, whoa. There's a lot of intention behind everything. The reason I checked this movie out the first time was because I was listening to one of my favorite film critics, Amy Nicholson, talk about how Cage wanted to bring the theatrical movements of silent film into this performance. And I've listened to a dozen Cage interviews at this point this week. And in almost all of them, when they ask him about movies and movie inspirations and how he got into it, he talks about, watching James Dean film, and that changed his life. And he talks about watching Nosferatu and Metropolis as a kid, and his dad showed him these movies and the idea of Dracula. And so there's a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff that's really interesting about him reading the script and loving it, and then dropping out, and then they think they're going to get someone else, and then that person drops out, and then he agrees to do it, but he had agreed to do it for a really small amount of money. I think it was like $60,000. Yeah. And he wanted to do it partially because the writer of After Hours was going to direct it, and it's like a small crew, and then that director drops out. And so he felt like, oh, he was kind of hoodwinked into supporting this small production, and now it's not that. And so it's a very, very, very interesting story. But you can see that, if you watch old, there's this actor, Conrad Veidt, who did The Man Who Laughs, and he did Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is another film that Cage references all the time. And he is Conrad Veidt towards the end of this movie with the hair and the faces. It's pretty amazing. But if you don't have that context and know that that's what he's going for, it just seems crazy.
Right. Yeah. And I think this deserves I don't say this a lot, but I think this movie deserves a to watch.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot grasp everything on the first watch. And if you're interested, then you should watch it the second time. If the first time you're like, no, I can't do that again, then it wasn't for you. You're not interested in learning anything about it.
Right. And so this movie doesn't do that well when it comes out.
Yeah.
Not really surprised.
Did you watch the trailer for this?
I'm going to say no.
You should humor yourself and watch the trailer.
Oh, yeah?
Because what is shown and what we're given.
Well,
you're going in with a totally different idea.
I can't put blame on the marketing people
No,
behind
of
this
course
because
not.
how would you tell
Right.
someone about this movie? Like you having seen it.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Like if I was to make a trailer?
Just you're at a party and someone says, "Hey, should I watch Vampires Kiss? What's it about?"
Honestly, I would be like, it's about a guy who's going through a mental breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would.
And
Like
they say,
this,
"Oh, is it a comedy?" And you
like,
say,
no, but there are definite choices that might
mm-hmm,
make you laugh.
mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people compare this film to American Psycho,
Yes,
which
I
American
keep hearing
Psycho,
that. Never seen it. So,
yeah, American Psycho comes out 10 years later, right? Based on the book by Bret Easton Ellis. Extremely dark film that's rewritten by two women, directed by Mary Herron, starring Christian Bale, and it's about a New York. I guess it's not a yuppie. I don't know if he's a yuppie or not, but super rich, very well-to-do, muscular, goes to all the cool restaurants, listens to all the cool music, but he is a psychopath and he kills people. And so American Psycho has dark comedic elements to it for sure, but it's a much easier sell. And the name too, American Psycho. Like it's easier to sell that movie. It's much more serious in tone. This is not. Like
yeah.
it's hard. And again thinking of After Hours and Motorama and this movie. I love movies that aren't easily definable and that make you stop and think like, what was that? I just watched this new movie, The Monkey, directed by Osgood Perkins, who did Long Legs, and it's very much a comedy. People say it's comedy horror. I actually think it's just straight comedy that happens to include gore, and we don't really have a name for that because we're like, but isn't it comedy horror? And to me, not really. And so I was able to enjoy the film because I wasn't expecting to be really scared. Or once the movie started, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is just just for funsies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people probably went into Vampire's Kiss with the opposite.
Yeah.
They thought it was for funsies,
Right.
and I don't want to make light of this scene at all, but there's a rape scene in this.
Yes.
Right? Peter assaults Alva and says that he did it later on, says that he murdered a woman. We see the after effects of it. Again, I don't think that the movie at any point is misogynistic. Lock me up if you think it is, but the movie takes time to show us the after effects of the assault on Alva. Show me another movie from the late 80s that does that in its story where the assault is not the main focus of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is very serious and very dark. It's just you have to accept and then see through Cage's performance.
Yeah.
And that's like trying to see through, hot yogurt on your toes.
That's right.
Alva Maria Conchita Alonso, Grammy-nominated singer, by the way.
Wow.
Yes. How did you take her storyline?
Well, I mean, anytime she, it's funny, like, it's not funny, but it's interesting to compare. But when we're dealing with Peter's story, while it's not funny, it's lighter in a way, even though it's very twisted and dark. And so, but anytime we see Alva, I'm just like in knots. And I think she portrayed her very well. Like I thought the acting was really good in this movie. And I felt for her, and I liked seeing how she was, like we're just learning about her, how she is in the office, and then going into her home life and seeing what it's like to be at home. And even her mom, who has, kind of this tough love of, you want to stay home from work. You can't stay home from work. You don't make money staying home. You have to go to work. Yep. And just seeing that comparison, I like that we gave her a little bit more. We meet her brother, and that ties into it. Like she's not just one note.
Right. And everyone around her mother and her brother, and then the people at work, the woman in the bathroom.
Oh my, what the fuck is going on? That was funny.
That was funny.
That was funny.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
also scary when you think about, real world situations.
Yeah.
But everyone around her is like, yeah, no one likes work. No one likes their boss. It helps you really feel for her because you are watching her and you're like, oh no, I know how this is different.
Yeah.
And still people aren't listening to her. Do you think, because when we first start introduced to her, he tells the story about the guy who's looking for the contract. He says, I already looked here and here. You need to look in this place. Then when he talks to her again, she says, oh, I looked here and here. I guess I need to look in that place. Do you think that she did that on purpose or that she didn't understand him the first time?
I think she didn't understand him the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's wasting time.
I think that she did it on purpose.
And why?
I don't know. Like, there's something about how she's going about finding this file that she knows it's like not her job.
So
Like,
she's
at first she says, like, I have a million things to do. She's not his secretary.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so I think that she's like, not fully putting her heart into.
Really? I think she's like working out of fear. And she has too much on her plate, and they're just keep giving her more and more, and it's hard
Yeah.
to prioritize. And
Right.
and it's like you look for something and it's not there.
Right. I think that she knows. I think that she's trying to like stick up for herself and not like going above and beyond to do this. Like she says, like, I'm going home. He's like, well, why don't you work late? And she's like, she's not like fawning over Peter like in any way.
No.
Yeah.
We see the rest of the office. He's so eccentric.
Right. And so it becomes this kind of like hell for her where no one really sees him the way that they should. I mean, someone like him, like jumping up on the desk.
Yeah, nobody reacts.
Nobody, yeah. And then again in the boardroom. And it comes to what is real and what is not. Like, was that boardroom scene even real?
Right. Like, what did actually happen? Like, is he actually terrorizing Alva? Yes, but is no one around reacting?
Right.
Because in his mind, no one's reacting.
Right. Right.
That could have been played completely different from a real world gaze.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and she just seems so grounded, like her performance. I mean, no one is matching this performance. I would say maybe Jennifer Beals as this like mystical vampire. She's closer to the realm where he is, but yeah, Maria Conchita Alonso, I dug her much more the second time around. I was like, oh man, this is really good. Like, I feel like their performances kind of mirror their characters in that she's like, oh, I'm going to play this extremely natural. So Jennifer Beals is Rachel, and she is our vampire, not vampire.
Yeah.
When you watch this the first time, like as you're going through it, do you think the vampire thing is happening?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning.
Yeah, because I did.
Yeah, in the beginning. And then shortly after, I'm like, oh, he's not turning into a vampire.
Imagine giving a performance so insane that your audience thinks he can't be turned into a vampire. This is too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something else is going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jennifer Beals in this. Word on the set is that Cage did not like her.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't attracted to her, hence needing the yogurt.
Right. And apparently, so she wears like nipple guards in the scenes where they're in bed, She wrote "Hello Peter" on them to like mess with him, to mess with Cage.
That's funny.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, she started in Flashdance, incredible dancer, like really, really great. And I liked how in almost the same scene towards the end, she's vampire Rachel and then just like normal Rachel. And what a stark difference the two performances are, like back to back.
Yeah.
On the women, and also just this being a unique film, except for of the 4 main women that round out this experience that he's going through, 3 of them are women of color.
Yes.
And it's never mentioned.
I know.
Which for late 80s,
yes,
is a miracle. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, at no point does he say, like, oh, I have a type, right? And these are the types of girls that I'm picking up. It's never mentioned.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It is.
What did you think about the mimes?
Again, this is on the list of choices that we made. Like, what is the significance of the mimes? It's 2 mimes. They look like they're a fighting couple. We see them a couple of times. One slaps the other.
Spits on the other.
And then slaps, though.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a story happening there. There's this other... The other choice was the chase scene between Peter and Alva, and they're going down the stairs. It's like, dun, 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 dun. That went on.
Goes on for a while.
And I cracked up at that because I can imagine being like, you know what? One more time. Like that. Let's just do that. One more. Like, just add in. Let's just stretch it out. That is funny. It reminded me of
Spinal Tap.
Yes.
When they can't find the stage.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what that reminded me of. Thank you, Seth. And then just like boo-hoo, like saying boo-hoo. There's just like these little choices.
Yeah, the choices, you either get behind them or not. But again, like, you can't just blame this movie and say Nicolas Cage. I heard one person say, oh, the director should have reined them in. I guess the director couldn't rein in Nicolas Cage.
What do we have to rein in?
Well, like, I think that there's an idea about this movie that he's just going nuts to go nuts because that's him. That's what he does.
I mean, you know, he probably was, I mean, what it sounds like, spicy to work with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, that's a tough personality to have on set. But as far as him portraying Peter, I don't think we have to rein that in.
How do you feel about the teeth?
I love it. I love it. Like, this is one of the fun, what I enjoyed going on this journey of Peter going and seeing the teeth, and then one's too expensive. And so we'll go with the plastic teeth. You have a thing about these teeth, and you lightly mentioned it last week, and I haven't forgotten. So can you share?
Oh, God. Dracula plastic teeth. Disgusting. They're little spit reservoirs.
Well, sure. That's it? You just think...
disgusting. Oh, my God. Why would you want that in your mouth?
Well, it's just for play.
Now I'm thinking about the spit that's in my mouth right now, and
Yet you'd eat a cockroach.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I would eat a cockroach before I would eat spit.
Seth, you eat spit every day. What are you talking about?
But I don't have to. But now I'm thinking about it, and now I'm weirding out. Like,
okay.
You know how you don't think about breathing and walking and talking, and
then as soon as you do, you stop breathing, and then you're
right, and then you're like,
yeah, you're yeah. So that being said, do you not?
So
like
when you
the
put
teeth
those
scene?
When you put those vampire teeth in, they just fill up with all this spit, and you're like, ow, 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 ow. And then when you take them out, spit either flies all over or comes down your face.
No, before you take it out, you have to like suck back your spit.
Ugh, please. No. Okay. Too much.
Moving on.
Sorry, everybody.
Krista, she always looks at people's teeth to see if they have fangs, and I have them.
Oh, cool.
Do you have them? I can't tell. Yeah, a little bit.
I don't have them.
Oh.
I think everybody's got canine teeth.
Yeah, but if you start looking, some are not pointed. Everybody's teeth are different. And so I was like, oh, I like mine. Yeah. Built-in vampire teeth.
I used to work in a costume store, and we would sell the really nice vampire teeth that you actually apply.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to put in molds that then make the set unique to your mouth. And so, yeah, those little 50-cent Dracula teeth, you can keep them.
But this works for what's happening at
Yeah.
this point in Peter's journey. This
Yeah.
was perfect.
So I did a weird thing. I watched a Jim Carrey film last night in preparation for this. It's called Once Bitten. And it's about a guy who's slowly turning into a vampire by a woman who encounters him 3 different times. And not to say that this movie was inspired by that one, but I was like, I think that this was the movie that people thought they were going to see.
When did Once Bitten come out?
1985.
Okay. How is Jim's performance in that?
It's fine. I mean, this is like real young Jim Carrey, and I think he wasn't allowed to kind of do his Jim Carrey thing. So it's way, way, way reserved. The movie is not good, like almost at all. And it made me appreciate Vampire's Kiss more because I was like, oh yeah, heck yeah, this one is so much better. But yeah, I don't really have any really good insights or connections. Just I think that this was what people thought it was going to be, a wacky, silly little vampire love movie.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because as I was watching, and I actually did think of Jim Carrey, and because we covered Jim and Jims, you know, and if Jim Carrey was in this movie doing exactly what Nicolas Cage is doing,
exactly the same
it
thing,
would be so different, and I guarantee you, I wouldn't like it.
Ooh, interesting. I didn't know you were going to end there.
Yeah, I could see me being like, oh my God, Jim, stop gymming.
Right. Can't you see him jumping up on the desk and pointing?
Absolutely. And him in the stature of just how he carrying himself and eating the bug. And and that's not to diss Jim Carrey.
No.
All.
But I think if you're on the fence about this movie and you do that little thought exercise that you just presented to us, now picture Jim in this role doing exactly the same thing. How is it different? You know?
Yeah.
And is it any different to you? And I think it absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
There's another little part of this that I noticed and I rewound 3 times to make sure. Just talking about the kind of illusion of the whole thing. There's a moment where he goes into an apartment building to make a phone call.
Yeah.
And an older man is walking out with a younger woman, and it looks like there's some type of relationship between them of a romantic nature or at least sexual nature. And he is putting on a Peter Pan hat. Now, the way that the shot is composed, we're like up above the lobby looking down. You can clearly see Cage on the left side. You can see an old man sitting down, and then they walk through and he's putting on this Peter Pan hat. And I was like, how interesting to put that in to kind of flesh out this idea of like romance and fantasy and
I know exactly the scene you're talking about, and I cannot picture this Peter Pan hat. You're positive it's a Peter Pan hat?
I would stake my life on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to mention the gun again, just to kind of like defend this script. What a really smart way to convince a character that he's immortal. You know, now we know that blanks can actually really damage you at close blank range, point blank range. So I'm not sure how they did that effect of him pulling the trigger. Because that would maybe not kill you, but that would really, really damage you.
Yeah.
There's still a projectile that comes out with a blank. So yeah, I thought that was a really smart way of, pushing him even further into this delusion. And then I was listening to the cinematographer talk. He was like, when he was wandering the streets, we just set up a camera from really far away, and he was walking down the street, just kind of yelling and being crazy, and those were real people reacting to him. And that kind of cements the movie, like the point of the movie, which is you interact with crazy people all the time and you don't think about where they came from or how they got there or whatever. And the fact that real New Yorkers interacted with this character and didn't ask him how he was or if they could help or what, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they prove the story in those shots. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the end?
I feel like it ended and I was like still processing of what I watched.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, was that real?
I think it is.
Right?
I think it is, yeah.
And then Alva's brother has to live with that?
Well, I think that guy went there to kill him. For sure. I mean,
Well,
he asks her
yeah.
what happened, and he's like, we're going to go to this guy, and, he's got a
Yeah.
crowbar, and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
You know what it reminded me of is the Universal monster movies, where once the monster is dead,
Yes.
the movie ends.
Wow, Seth. Very good. Yeah.
Am I convincing you that this is a good movie?
I never said it wasn't a good movie.
I know.
Bite your tongue, sir.
So this movie was made for online. It says 2 million, but everyone who I listened to that was interviewed that was involved in this, including Barbara and the director and everybody, they all said 3 million. So 3
it's
million
like
bucks.
88, 89 situation.
Right. Yes. This movie is listed as different years of release on different movie databases. Don't know why, don't know how, but it's real odd. So this movie's made for $3 million. Goes on to make $725,000 at the box office. So definitely did not do well, unfortunately. This movie has 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, 3.4 on Letterboxd, which is pretty good.
Wow.
Even 63 with this movie's reputation, I was like, that's above, that's considered a fresh rating. So
is that because it found its audience later on?
I think so.
Yeah.
I
mean, this is like a cult classic at this point.
I think you have to see this movie more than once.
You do. And you have to have a discussion around it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Has a 30 on Metacritic. Not great. This is not in the Criterion Collection nor the National Registry. And I could not find a review on this from Ebert. It's possible that he didn't review it at the time and then never went back. This movie opened the same day as Dead Poets Society. So it's possible that other things were on other people's minds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I also couldn't find like a firm answer on the amount of production days that this had. All right, let's go into our happies and crappies.
It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crappies. It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crappies. It's time for happies.
Okay, so my happy is kind of broad, but it's just that this movie exists, that this movie got made, that Cage came back and was in it and was allowed to give this performance. The director and Zitwer mentioned that he showed up to set day one with a pencil thin mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So they did rein him in on something.
They did.
But just that this movie exists, I'm very happy about that. And then my crappy is also kind of broad. It's how much misunderstood this movie is, and how I completely accept that people can misunderstand it. I wish that this movie had an easier barrier of entry, because I think that there's a lot being said here and a lot to experience.
This movie is like, if you know, you know.
Right. Yep.
That's
like, I wish that this wasn't something that I had to explain, or like you said, an
Yeah.
asterisk.
Yes.
I wish that you could just put on Vampire's Kiss and be like, wow, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
My happy is the old woman saying what the F is going on. Because that came out of nowhere and that made me LOL a lot. My crappy is I just wish that maybe some things were explored a little bit more, like the therapist. I would have liked to have seen him in more sessions.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Pick one of them, I feel like, and make the movie more. Jackie gets left in the dust.
I know.
And Jackie's great. We like Jackie with the hair hat.
Sure. Yes, with the hair hat. Yeah.
So we asked some people on Twitter what they thought. Trash Panda at haha funny Kyle.
Haha funny Kyle Raccoon.
Says American Psycho with vampirism. I don't know what more you could ask for. And I agree. Movies for Days. Good friend Newman. He's another Cage head.
Wow. Is he?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you call yourselves? Cage heads?
I don't know.
Cagers?
Nicholas boys.
I'm picturing like a jar of capers, and it's just a jar of cagers.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a little chicken piccata with a side of Cagers. Chicken piccata usually has capers in it.
Mm-hmm. What'd Newman say?
I'm sorry to mention chicken piccata. Chicken piccata just got a bad reaction from Michelle. My God.
I don't eat chicken piccata.
Well, sure, but
chicken
it exists.
manata. That was bad.
There you go. With you would be eggplant piccata. A piccata frittata?
There you go. Piccata is just so fun to say with sans chicken.
You can make a piccata sauce without chicken.
That's right. So, yeah.
Anyway, Newman says, in my opinion, there's lots of similarities between this movie and American Psycho. I think they both show how our society allows people of the right social station to do pretty much anything they want. Both movies deal with such a person who is so deluded, the audience isn't sure what's real.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great point. The long speech he gives about why Alma is going to do this work, and it's horrible, and he's going to fire her if she doesn't. And the Reanimator emoji VHS tape at Nanan Harry.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, VHS tape emoji. I need to start using that.
Says the endless memes really downplay how sad and disturbing it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. On one hand, I'm glad that this movie was kind of grabbed by people who were like, look at how insane this crazy forgotten movie is. But that it got stuck in that narrative, I think, is a bit of a detriment to experiencing it. And hopefully we are helping to change that narrative. Dean Buckley at Dean F. Buckley.
Hey, Dean.
Says, genuine masterpiece in my opinion. And then they post their review, which I wanted to read. It says, it sickens me to my stomach that most people who know this film know it only from meme videos making fun of Nick Cage's acting, because it's a stone cold black comedy horror masterpiece. The fact that Vampire's Kiss is a very silly, absurd black comedy for Nick Cage's rich white executive, but a straight horror film for his working class Latina secretary is the heart of the thing. It's a film about the vacuum of yuppie life, a poison that's so corrosive to Peter's soul, he can only reconcile his own understanding of himself by coming to believe he is the poison. Because if he's not the poison, he's nothing. I hope more people will learn to approach this film without irony and see it for the high opus it is. Joseph Minion is a genius. How did we let him slip away?
Wow. Well said.
Good review, right?
Very good. I'm always astonished by these reviews.
Yeah. And I didn't even get to the reviews yet.
I know.
But hey, let's go to a segment of the show where we hear from people that we don't know. It's called Half Star, 3 Star, 5 Star. All right, these are reviews from letterboxd.com, which is a website where you can rate and review films. We start with a half-star review, which is the lowest rating that you can give. We go all the way up to a 5-star review, which is the highest rating that you can give. The half-star review, I'm going to try to read this as Peter Lowe.
Yes.
And it's going to not be good. Because Cage couldn't even hold on to the Peter Lowe accent the whole movie. There's times where he's doing it, and then there's times where it's just Cage, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah. Okay. What does he say?
You just have to like Lou. It's like
It's California.
yeah, but there's like
He said that
mid-Atlantic in there.
he said that he based this on his dad.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
Yeah. Well,
being like, "Hey, Dad, go see my new movie," and then it's this, and you're like, "What the heck?"
like just sprinkle some pretentious on there.
Yeah. Where do I eat? No, I can't do
Yeah,
it.
you're going like a little British there.
I can't do it. Where? Oh, you know who it is? It's Keanu Reeves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where do I even start? Getting aroused by shooing a bat? The imaginary girlfriend and a therapist? The Nosferatu, I'm a vampire scene? The plastic vampire teeth? The posture? The running from the sun? The makeshift couch coffin? Whoever rates this more than 1 star has unfortunately fallen victim to the terrible clutches of Nicolas Cage's absolutely terrible acting. I knew when I seen his name, I should have went running for the hills. Instead, I watched and am now forever scarred and want to rip my eyes out of their sockets. I wouldn't even make my worst enemy watch this. Half star.
Wow. They're angry.
They're very, very angry. Yeah. I knew when I seen his name, I should have went running for the hills. Come on.
Wow.
Come
So you're
on.
just like not into Nicolas Cage.
Right. I guess so. Then yeah, why would you watch this?
Right.
3-star review says, there's so much to unpack, and I'm not even going to try.
Is that it?
That's it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great review. That is so good. My 3-star club. I love
Isn't
it.
that great?
That's great.
There's so much to unpack.
That's me at the top of this episode. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even mention the J.D. Salinger reference. There's a throwaway reference when he's in the bar. Someone walking by says something about raise high the roof beam carpenters, and then he says to Rachel, he says, "Did you understand that joke?" And she says, "No." And I'm like, what a funny thing for, I guess, Minion to put in the script to be like, I wonder if anyone will get this J.D. Salinger quote. Yeah, real weird. 5-star review says, this has extremely poignant statements about patriarchy, sexual harassment, and abuse. It is not just about Cage's character losing his mind. It's about equating sexism with delusion, calling out misogyny as a mental illness. And it is all craftily hidden within what I believe to be the funniest movie ever made. This is literal perfection. This is a masterpiece.
Wow.
Wowie zowie.
Funniest movie ever made.
Hey, this movie contains multitudes. That's all I can say.
It's like an onion. It has layers.
It is. It absolutely is. So we rate a movie as a schmovie, a movie, a film. We rate it 1 through 5 stars. Give our final recommendations and thoughts. Now, Michelle goes first because she won the pickle last week.
Okay.
So for you, and now after talking about it, all of my confidence was just, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't.
I wrote down that you were, oh, it's so stupid now. I feel stupid. I said that you were going to rate this 2.5 schmovie.
Get out of here! What the heck?
Is that what you guessed?
Yes!
Is that what you're going to do? Yes! No way!
I'm so mad right now.
No
How
way!
Did you know that?
Wow.
Get out of my Okay. Well,
I'm proud. I feel like I should get a double pickle for that one.
I'm giving you
No.
I'm giving you a double pickle because
No. No, the pickle thing is hard enough to keep track of. Wow, I can't believe I guessed that. Okay, take it away. 2.5 schmovie.
Yeah, this is a very clear schmovie. This is a shining 2.5 for me, but I mean that with like all the love, where it could almost be a 5-star film. Sometimes 2.5 schmovies can be a 5-star film.
Yes.
And if you get it, you get it. If you know, you know.
Yes.
Like that 3-star review, there's so much to impact here. I would recommend this movie, but I would recommend it for people to watch with friends and make sure you have a discussion afterwards. And if you're looking for a fun movie to watch where you're like, this is odd and I like Nicolas Cage, I'm going to recommend this. Am I recommending this to my mom? I am not. Am I recommending this to my sister? I am not. I
Got it.
cannot believe you got 2.5.
I can't believe it either, especially after that discussion.
I'm so.
I was like,
can't
she's going to
believe-
rate this a 5-star film.
Wow.
All week I've known.
How did
too.
you know that?
I don't know.
I didn't even give you anything how I felt about the movie. I've just been sending you like quotes and stuff that Barbara was sending me. How did you do that?
I don't know. I'm good. When he's good, he's good.
When he's good, he's good. What the heck?
All right. What did you guess for me?
I wrote down 4-star movie.
Ooh, so close. 4-star movie.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think that, like I said, there's just one thing that you have to get over. And if you do, this movie's beautifully shot. It's very well written in its layers and its characters.
We didn't even talk about the score.
We didn't talk about the score.
It's so good.
Yeah. Again, just one thing to get over. And this is, I think, a quite normal movie. So 4-star movie for me. I recommend that you watch this, but kind of like Pig, I recommend that you watch this after watching some Nicolas Cage movies to get the spectrum. And keep it in mind, the Conrad Veidt of the whole thing, the Nosferatu of the whole thing, the how do we bring the large performance. Cage talks about how Talia Shire, his aunt, from great actress from Rocky and Godfather series, is the one who opened his mind to realizing that the naturalism of the 70s that came to like dominate how movies were made, right? In the 40s and 50s, you got the big studio, Singing in the Rain. You think about Gene Kelly and Singing in the Rain. And then you think about like The French Connection or The Conversation, right? Gene Hackman. Such different performances, right? And so Talia Shire shares with him, naturalism is a way of performing. It's just one style that you can perform in. It is not the way to act. And so in Cage's early career, as he's trying to be this like big movie star, he also wants to try out different styles of acting. So if you keep those things in mind, I think that this will go over a lot easier for you. So for Michelle, on our pickle rating, that's a 2.5, which is a pickled onion.
Yum.
Still good.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's a 4. That's a dill pickle. So pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Does Vampire's Kiss pass the Seth Shell test? The Seth Shell test is, this movie must contain something tangible that is impressive, whether choreography, production design, or a practical effect, and it must have a runtime that is justified by its content. For me, I think yes on both. For me, it'd be like the cinematography, I think, is really well done. Some of the effects, like, how did they do that gun going off without hurting him?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive. And then I thought the runtime was fine.
Yeah, this is a no for me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the runtime, I don't know, maybe if the storytelling was, I don't, paced differently. Because again, I really enjoy talking about this movie, but watching it, and I watched it with Anthony, he kept saying, he's like, when is this over? Where are we going with this? So the runtime for me could have, maybe that's just, it could have just been used differently, I think.
Got it. Hey, if you haven't used your device to give us a review and you'd like to use it differently, please do so. Give us a rating and a review wherever you are listening. It really helps the show, Also, we'd love it if you send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about Vampire's Kiss. Please, oh my God.
Yeah.
I would love to get a flood of Vampire's Kiss emails. Let us know what you think about Nicolas Cage, Cage March, the weather, whatever you want. You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our bonus episodes. It also gets you access to ad-free episodes, our patron-only Discord, and you get to vote on upcoming movies and monthly themes. Just like this one. Cage would not have happened had it not been for our patrons. So thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
And you enter Michelle's secret inner circle. You get to decode the messages at the end of every episode. And, it's just a fun little thing. Look, you can listen to any podcast that just ends, right? But how many podcasts end with an encoded message read to you in a robot voice
That changes every week.
that you then get to go and use your little decoder to decode? Come on. Who else is doing this?
You're
If
welcome.
any other show on Earth is doing this, I would actually love to know if we're the only ones.
Yeah, I would like to know that too.
Next week,
Next week, what are we doing?
Cage March continues. So this will be my pick.
Yep.
We're going to be doing Raising Arizona from 1987. It's directed by Joel Coen, the Coen brothers. It's 97 minutes. This is our first Coen brothers film.
Wow.
Which is wild.
Wow.
Yep. All I will say is going from Pig to Vampire's Kiss to Raising Arizona will show such great range from Nicolas Cage.
Mm-hmm. I think, if anything, by the end of March, we can say Cage has range.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
This should be called Range Free.
Yeah.
Cage Free Range Eggs. What is it? We'll work on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Seth.
This was fun. Thank you, Barbara Zitwer.
Thank you, Barbara Zitwer. A doll.
This was great. And remember, folks, if you're a therapist and your patient tells you he just wants love, don't laugh at him. All right. Until next week, we're talking about Raising Arizona. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.
Incoming. Message incoming. Message to Michelle's inner circle. Remember, kids, only Michelle's inner circle can decipher this week's message. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
Message number 8. 65. 74. 65. 66. 76. 85. 53. 86. 62. 77. 46. 55. 46. 54. 63. 68. 53. 46. 66. 44. 55. 53. 36. 70. 53.
Michelle is counting on you. Do not let her down.